Hello, Masters. Today I got something really cool for you, man. I've done this, it worked, and I've had people do it to me also. And I thought I would actually start with that because if I explain that part to you first, it'll make how to do this make more sense. Um, so when I received, and this has happened to me at least three times that I can think of. So when I received a telepathic message from somebody, the first time it was like true telepathy, right? So there's kind of two main types of psychic ability. Um, so telepathy, which is where you hear things or see things in your third eye, right? And you're not crazy, you're not schizophrenic, right? 'Cause, the naysayers, they're going, oh yeah, there's no such thing as telepathy. Those people are just delusional, you're schizo, or something like that. And no, I'm not. For the record, I've been thoroughly checked out by a psychologist. I spent 2 years talking to a psychologist once about, like family stuff, like, my parents. And he's highly respected, very well known. Uh, he's got multiple PhDs. He's written books. He's a college professor. He's 30 years of clinical experience, right? And he told me there's nothing wrong with you. Yet I've experienced telepathy. So much for the naysayers, right? And it's whatever. There's organizations like the Monroe Institute and the University of Virginia and stuff like that that takes that kind of stuff seriously. And they've demonstrated that consciousness is non-local. There's so in other words, it's coming from out there somewhere. I'm serious. There's this one, I'll have to link the video for you. I watched this interview where the guy explains a controlled scientific experiment they did, where they were able to demonstrate that, excuse me, people knew what was going to happen before it happened. And even though it was like a microsecond, it was still, you could measure that. And they got the same result every time. And they've duplicated this experiment thousands of times around the world. And what that showed um, the experimenters, the scientists, was that consciousness is not coming from in your brain, dude. It's not. So I'm gonna link that video down below for you here. Let me make a note so I don't forget. Non-local consciousness interview. Okay, so anyway, I've experienced it. I was laying there one time, and my friend at the time, very psychic, just the most psychic person I've ever met. Just incredible, just gifted off the chart ability. So much that it became like a burden, and he had to like tamp it down and like shut it down for a while because it was so strong. He could hear everything from everybody. And one time I'm laying down, taking a nap, and I heard, what is he thinking? I heard like crackling, like a little loudspeaker inside my head, inside my third eye, right? It's not your voice. You know how you got that internal voice, your mind is always going and it won't shut up. And you hear that and you're like, whoa, what? Because you hear this voice in your head and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? Who was that? Right? That happened with him two times. And then, later, I I corroborated it with him and I asked him, I go, were you thinking about me this afternoon? And he goes, yeah. And I go, what were you thinking? And he said, well, I was thinking about what are you thinking about? Right. Because that was what the message was like. What is he thinking? Because he thought I was making some kind of a bad decision or something. And he said that. He said, yeah, I was thinking, what is he thinking? Right. And that's exactly what it was. And I knew it was his voice too. Okay. So that happened a couple of times with him. Also, he left me like notes and stuff. Like I'd be doing something across town or in another room, and I'm not talking, I'm not calling him. I didn't have a cell phone. This was a long time ago. They didn't have cell phones back then. And I would come home and there were notes that he wrote about what I was thinking about. Kind of creepy, but cool at the same time. Also, I've had what I'm assuming are spirit guides, angels talking to me about stuff. Kind of random stuff too. I even had an ex-girlfriend talk to me from the other side. She passed away um maybe about 8 years ago ish. And yeah, she was talking to me. Now, that's what people normally think of when they think of telepathy or a psychic ability, right? Is you hear and see things. But there's another type too that we could be sending to somebody, and then we'll talk about how to do that. Um, and it's intuition, which is the most common form of psychic ability. And it's this knowing, right? You just have this weird, eerie knowing. Like I I know this thing about the future, or I know this thing about this other person, but how do I know that? Because it's not coming from the mind. That's why it seems so strange. It's a lot like deja vu. As a matter of fact, deja vu is another form of intuition. And that's when I teach this, to like my spiritual coaching students, that's how I explained it to them. Like if how would I know I was experiencing intuition if I was? Well, it feels like deja vu, only the information is different. So with deja vu, the information is telling you, I've done this before, I've been here before. And I'll explain why that is, by the way. With intuition, it feels exactly the same, except the information is different. Like you know something about the future, or you see something about another person, or something like that, or something that's true for you, but they feel the same. Deja vu and intuition. It's just the information is different. And with deja vu, for example, when this happens, there's this knowing that you've done that before, but then immediately the mind starts to think and analyze, well, did I dream about this yesterday? Maybe I did do this yesterday. Did I? What is going on? Why do I feel like I've done blah, 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 right? You're thinking. But see, that's not you. This is what I tell people all the time. You are not a thinker, right? Like Eckhart Tolle is going to tell you, Eckhart Tolle, he's basically like the modern day Buddha. The name of the first chapter of his now years long best selling book, it's called The Power of Now. Highly recommend. The Power of Now. First chapter is called You Are Not Your Mind. Right. So what are you? Well, you are this conscious being beyond the mind. There's that word again, consciousness. And remember, we just talked about that scientific study they did. Remember that? They just did a scientific study talking about, yeah, consciousness is coming from out there somewhere. It's not coming from in the brain. Okay. And that's where this intuition is coming from. It's coming from your higher self. Now, your higher self exists on this higher plane, Plane. And if you wanted to visualize, kind of what that looks like, think of it like your higher self is an octopus head. It's the head of the octopus, and then the arms are individual lives that you've lived or will live, right? Like reincarnation. Think of it like that. So from where the higher self is on this higher plane, there's no linear time. And that's legit physics, by the way. And I think everybody knows that, right? That's really how time works. So when you go to these higher planes, time becomes more and more and more uniform. So all moments in time that we experience down here in the 3D from day to day to day, they all happen simultaneously from the perspective of your higher self. So when you're getting deja vu and it's telling you you've been here before, it's because you have. It's just, who are you? Because you think that you are a thinker. You think you are this mortal, right? I am a mortal person who is thinking and feeling emotions, but that's not really you. You, beyond the mortal and the mind, the thinker, is that higher self, that conscious presence. And that's what gives you these intuitive experiences. Okay. That's how that's taking place. So to send a message to somebody else, I'm thinking this should make a lot more sense to you now that you kind of know like the mechanics of all this. Um, because you are not limited only to your body. You are connected to this higher field of consciousness. And that's really how physicists are beginning to think things work, right? Like Lothar Schaefer, he's a pretty well known physicist. I talk about him all the time on here. He said, consciousness is an unexplainable cosmic force. So for you to send a telepathic message to somebody, it's actually pretty easy. Now, the easiest way to do that is intuition, right? Now, with intuition, there could also be other clairvoyant, claircognizance, all the clairs. I don't, I know I'm not saying that properly, but there's like clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, right? And they have something to do like with your kind of with your physical senses in a way, like they relate in some way. So for example, um, one time I was given a tarot reading to somebody. I used to give tarot readings. I still do sometimes, but I could taste gin in my mouth, and I go, "Did you guys go out for drinks last night?" And she said, "Yeah, we got gin." Did you now? Right? Or you smell stuff too. And I've made videos about this on this channel. This is real, you guys. Where like my ex, for example, one time, this woman I used to be with, she was thinking about me. She was not a very good person. But she was going to try to hoover me, right? I think she was a what you call a covert narcissist. I actually know a lot more about that than I'm letting on. She was a covert narcissist. Anyway, she was going to hoover me, and she pretends to be spiritual. Let's just put it that way. But I mean, even if you're an amateur, you can still you can reach out to people through the void, right? And she did do that. To her credit, she was able to do that. So I could like smell her. And that was one of the things I liked about her is she had this very sensual like scent. Like pheromones and stuff. It really turned me on too, man. And I could smell it and I was like, right? Oh, wait a minute. That's her. No, 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 no. Get that away from me. It's like some yummy drug that isn't good for you. But get this. Then another time, right before, and she contacted me right after this started happening, by the way. Okay, so I know she was doing this. She, I was laying in bed one night, so there was the smell, and I like started having dreams about her a lot. And then shortly thereafter, it was like the climax was I was like overcome with this intuitive knowing, like deja vu, right? How deja vu like overtakes you and you're like, whoa, did I do this? This is deja vu. What's good, right? Because it completely like takes you over for a second, right? That's what's so strange about it. Well, intuition is the same thing. You're overcome with that sense of knowing, but it was this time it was like a very familiar female person. Okay. So again, right around this time, I started having dreams about her. I could like smell her. Um, she was very feminine, very beautiful. She was very beautiful. And that stuff started going on. And then that happened with that intuition. I kid you, I could like smell her hair too. She had this, I don't know, like she smelled so good. What can I say? But then the intuition happened. And then within a week, she contacted me out of the blue. And again, this knowing, I'm laying in bed, I was like overcome with it. And it was this very familiar female. Like I know that I knew her, whoever she was. And it was like she was there in the room with me, you guys. And then she contacted me about a week, maybe 2 weeks after that, not long after that, guys. And we had not had any contact for a long time. So that's kind of how that all works. That's all the mechanics. That's everything you need to know. I might have to use this video as a reference, actually. I wasn't expecting to make a video this deep, but this is kind of how all that stuff works. And I'm sure you guys have some stories you can tell about experiences that you've had. Now, let's talk about how you send a telepathic or intuitive message to somebody. So, the first thing you need to do is you need to have your baseline going. This is always manifesting 101. Basics of manifesting is 80 to 90% of your manifesting game is your Zen game. Consciousness is the primary causative force, not thinking. Thinking is something for you to focus on. And so that's why law of attraction teachers, they often spend ample time talking about how to think differently and how to feel different emotions. And that's totally fine. But if you want to supercharge your manifesting game, you're in the right place because that's kind of the little secret that people they don't really talk about it a lot, and I'm not sure why that is. Um, but that's all it is. It's just consciousness. It's your soul, right? So body, mind, soul, the self, the higher self. So who you are beyond your body and your mind is essentially consciousness, like 98, 99% consciousness. And then if you go even deeper than that, that's where you are the source and you're one with everything. And that is pure consciousness. Absolutely pure consciousness. So I'm not gonna go into that into detail in this video because I've already made lots of videos about that. I have a like a 20-minute kind of like a quick start guide, right? Like a crash course in kind of how to get that stuff going, how to get the law of attraction to start working, right? And I think that's what it's called. It's one of the first videos I made because I knew I would be referencing a lot. So it's like it's just one of my YouTube videos, but it's free. It's like a free, like short, quick master class. How to get that stuff to start working. Like, how do I increase my consciousness? What do I do? Right? Because that's everything, guys. That's almost the whole bread and butter. And if you do that, if you're working on leveling up your level of consciousness, reprogramming the mind is easy and sending people telepathic messages. And another thing I'm going to reference in this video, also in the description down below, there's a couple of videos that I've recently made about uh, how to understand intuition, how to cultivate intuition, and how to meditate. So think of it as actually there's a playlist too. Yeah, there's a playlist on my YouTube channel um called what is it? Hold on a second. I don't need to reference all these videos. Guys, I am so trying to hook you up. Just bear with me here cuz I got the supercharged fucking shit on this YouTube channel. I've been doing this a long time, guys. I've coached over 7,000 people. This YouTube channel is new. There's not a lot of subscribers on here, but I'm on other platforms. Here it is. The basics of manifesting. Get started today. I'll just post that in the description down below. It's got all those videos that I just mentioned. So those are all kind of like the essentials of manifesting. So free stuff. Now, when you have a good baseline, right? When your foundation is in place, so you're meditating, you're transcending the mind, you're going beyond the ego mind, the identity self, right? You have like a daily routine, okay? You have a daily routine where after you meditate, you're going to do the heart brain coherence technique. It only takes 7 minutes. So I do this every day anyway. So meditate for at least like 10 minutes, right? More is better. And then 7 minutes, do the heart brain coherence technique. I'm going to post that down below for you. It's from Gregg Braden. I need to make my own. I've made one on my other YouTube channel, but I'll put that down below for you. And then once you kind of have that heart brain coherence, so you're in your Zen zone, you have that heart brain coherence, all you really need to do is visualize. And I've talked about this before too, like moving consciousness out and away from your body. Another thing that you can do if you're going to do this, and this is something really, this really works, you guys. I've done it. People have done it to me. Um, so sending a telepathic message to somebody, like for really real, no bullshit. But again, you got to have your foundation in place. So here's what I would do. I would step one, do your meditation. So just a regular standard meditation, 10 minutes. Then do an induction meditation. And again, I'll put that down below. It's, I think, Joe Dispenza. He guides you through an induction meditation. Then after you're done with those meditations, you get up and do the heart brain coherence technique. That only takes 7 minutes. Now, what you're going to be able to do is project your consciousness. Remember, the consciousness is non-local, which means it's out there. And if you're doing this induction meditation and then the heart brain coherence technique, you can project your consciousness out just by feeling it stretching out of your body. And notice I keep starting with my heart, okay? Because that's the most powerful place to start that from. That's usually where intuition happens. And so you could just be visualizing this person wherever they are. And if you kind of know where they are, like maybe you know like where they live or where they work, and you can kind of face that direction and push that energy out towards them and think about them and think good thoughts, think happy thoughts, don't think negative thoughts. And don't even think like sad thoughts like, oh gosh, I sure miss them. You know, if it's a lover or something like that, well, think fondly of them like, man, you were such a great person, and I'm sorry I messed up the relationship. Maybe we can talk, you know, whatever, just stuff like that. Like, wow, I really miss you and I admire you. And I just thought you were so amazing. And maybe we just weren't ready yet. And I love you so much. And I hope we get to talk soon. And I think you're so wonderful. Right. Or if you're trying to manifest like a job, right? You're going to be maybe doing this at the director or the manager where you applied and like, I'm the best employee and you're never going to get anybody like me again. And right? Like stuff like that, right? But don't do anything fear-based like fuck those other applicants. They're shitty people. Don't do that, right? Because again, like this is like the force from Star Wars, guys, manifesting. And people know this. This is where like witchcraft and stuff like that comes from. So you've heard about like there's black magic and white magic. Which one do you think you should pick? And white magic means you never violate somebody's free will. So you're not saying things that are necessarily controlling. You're just suggesting things to people like, I'm really the best employee and I'll do the best job for you, and you're never going to have a better employee than me. Just give me a try, man. You can pick whoever you want, but I know I'm the best one. Or with your lover, again, like fond memories and encouraging messages, just be nice, you know, stuff like that. And again, all you're doing again is number one, you're 80 to 90% of your manifesting game is your Zen game. So that's got to be your baseline. Again, go to that playlist that I made for you guys. It's called The Basics of Manifesting. There's the how to get the law of attraction to start working, how to meditate, right? How to get this ball really going. You're going to drastically level up your manifesting game just doing that alone, like getting into transcendentalism a little bit and meditating and stuff like that, right? And then number two, you have this daily routine for at least a month where you do a regular meditation, you do an induction meditation, and you do the heart brain coherence technique. And I'm going to put again those two videos down below for you. And then you take your energy and direct it at them and say these positive messages encouraging them to reach out for you. It's really that simple. But again, it only works if you have that baseline knowledge. So that's kind of why this video was so long. That's it, you guys. Great video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later.